Good morning and welcome to your Wednesday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom for your day. And we have an interesting opportunity today with this card, I think. And I see that little, nope, wrong side, little band of light coming through there again. I just love that. I don't know exactly how some days the screen is tilted in such a way that does it, and some days it doesn't. But it's those little things that interest the childlike part of me. So we'll give it a minute or two until some of my practical rebels roll in here. I see the number climbing. There we go. Morning, Cindy. Welcome. Let's see who else we've got. Abigail, good morning. Get us started rolling here today. Thank you for the sunrise. Good morning, Joe Neal. Welcome. Glad you are here. And Peggy, good morning, good morning. So I want to give you a little bit of backstory on this one because I think it's going to flavor today's reading. Just got out of the shower. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Flavor today's reading a little bit. This deck, the Wild Harmonic deck by Gabriel J. Maryhugh. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad you are here. First of all, I love the hands all the way around. I just think that's so connecting. Very connecting. But I got a hit on New Year's Day that it would be good to do a year in projection reading for myself with this card deck. And so I was muscle testing some things to see what exactly to do, like how many cards to pull. And the muscle test told me one card, and then I went to pull the cards and 3 of them jumped out, and I'm like, okay, well, so much for that. So the way this card deck is set up is there's what we would probably call suits, and they are based on elements. So there's fire, there's air, there's water, there's wind, or there's what am I missing? Water, earth, missing earth. Yes, isn't that interesting? Earth, wind, water, fire. And then he adds some celestial, dimensional, and shadow. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be interesting. So the 3 cards that I pulled, so there's 65 cards in 7 different areas or suits. I pulled 3 cards from the same suit. So right away I thought, okay, this is going to be really interesting. And of course I pulled the shadow card. And one of the things about these cards is they're round. So the shape of the box is that hexagonal when there's 6? I think so. I'm not sure. Anyway, they're round cards. And the same way when you're doing tarot readings, whatever, it matters the orientation of the card, and usually the orientation is right side up or upside down. Well, in this case, he views it as being like a clock face. So is it at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? And when it's oriented between 12 and 6, he views that as it's an ascending energy. And when it's between 6 and 12, it's an embodying energy. It's all great to be floating around in the airy-fairy stuff, but if you can't bring it down to earth and make it matter in the 3D world, what good is it? So I was very aware as I was looking at those 3 cards and writing up what I was getting out of them for myself, what the orientation was and the interplay between those cards. Well, today I just pulled the 1 card, or the 1 card presented itself to me. So again, Wild Harmonic Oracle, Gabriel J. Maryhugh. And our card for today came from the Spirit of Celestial, and it is Dream Speaking, and it was oriented to 1 o'clock. So just getting started on the ascension. Okay, good morning, Joe Bell. Good morning, Mel. Hopefully I didn't miss too many of you. It looks like I missed a few, but glad you're here. Glad you're here. This is going to be an interesting reading, I think. So it was at 1 o'clock, just getting started into ascending, where we're going to be learning about this and drawing new energy into ourselves. And then when it comes around to 6 o'clock, then we're working on bringing that down and grounding it in human existence. Okay, so Dream Speaking, Spirit of Celestial. Oh, let's do a couple of breaths just to open up. All right, in through the nose, out through the mouth. spinning your heart chakra open, in through the nose, out through the mouth. I think it's important to spin open third eye right now. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and throat. That's what I'm being guided, and throat, because throat is integral to this particular card. Dream speaking. As the spirit of creativity ascends, remember we're at 1 o'clock, so we're just getting this thing started, to energize the celestial realms, it nurtures the joy of the story and the living telling of one's own great tale. Have you ever considered that you have a great tale? That your life is a great tale? And you might think, well, there's not much going on for me compared to what other people have. No. Your life is a great tale. Kind of like yesterday we were talking about the snowflake and all of these other things that are unique. Our fingerprints are unique. We are unique. Our retinas, when they scan our retinas, they're unique. So again, the Tosha Silver thing yesterday was talking about how special we are, yet how dispensable we are. It's both. We can hold that seemingly opposing energy. But let's see what it says. Meditation, storytelling, bringing experience to bear, maturity, expression through art, writing, music, and the transmission of wisdom. This card is about sharing our wealth, which of course can mean that we must first know it ourselves. Or perhaps we discover it in the sharing. I know for myself, when I want to learn something really well, I teach it to someone else. Because in the teaching of it to another, I get a deeper understanding of whatever it is I'm teaching. Claiming my space on the dance floor. Isn't that a cool way to put it? As we're doing this, we are claiming our space on the dance floor, picking up our drum and joining in the orchestration of creation, contributing, doing our part. I'm a rich well of nourishment for myself, and it only deepens the places from which I can draw by sharing it with others. Again, that idea that there's abundance, and as we move the abundance on, don't hoard stuff, move it on, it grows and it brings more in. It creates that vacuum into which flows the new, this or something better, all right? So that's why we move things on. We were making space for whatever's meant to come next. And faith and trust is involved there because we don't always see the next before we let go of the current. Inquiry. Here's the question that you can ponder. Use this as a journaling prompt, whatever floats your boat. How can I share my experience so that it enriches both speaker and listener? How can I share my experience so that it enriches both speaker and listener? Good morning, CJ. Welcome. Glad you are here. So another way to say that is, how can I share my wisdom in a way that grows me and grows the people who are receiving it? One of the things that tends to create difficulty in that regard, thank you, Cindy, I appreciate that, is when we attempt to share our wisdom with someone who doesn't want to hear it. Sometimes we can invite the opportunity. Good morning, Sue. Glad you're here. Welcome. So our card for today out of the crazy wild harmonic oracle deck is Dream Speaking, which was at 1 o'clock. So we're just getting started in ascending into the wisdom of this particular energy. But one of the things that I think we can do as elders is when we have some wisdom to share, ask. Good morning, Paula. Welcome. Glad you're here. Ask if that person is willing to receive that wisdom. Would you like to hear what I have to say about that? I have a thought on that. Would you like to hear it? You can do with it what you will. Would you like to hear it? Not, here's what you ought to do, or when I was your age. They don't want to hear that. And if we're sharing with someone who's a peer, age-wise, they don't want us lording over them. You know, I have more experience than you do, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes if we're there, I know two men from Anishinaabe background whose native name was Nowatan. And Nowatan means he who sits and listens. to me, that's a very wise person. That's a very wise person. White people, we're more interested in speaking and putting stuff out there. And here's my opinion. And my friend just dropped in a do tell because I told her I picked a really interesting card for today. So hopefully she's going to see this. Again, we're just getting started on this part of the process, ascending into our wisdom. We don't have it all figured out. We don't have answers to someone else's stuff. But again, if we ask, would you like to hear what I have to say about that? Or I have a thought about that. Could I share it? If you get the big fat no, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Somewhere along the line, there will be someone who is interested in hearing that. It can also be that you share that wisdom and then back off. You know, from my perspective, I think blah, blah, blah. You get to decide, up to you. Hopefully that's some useful grist for your mill. Go on with your business, all right? But that storytelling can be, I mean, in the past, don't throw your pearls before swine. Exactly. And really, if you come at it from an empowerment perspective, we each have the right and the free will to walk the path we choose to walk. Is it going to be the path others would choose for us? I remember my mother yelling at me, why do you have to make all the same mistakes I did? And me yelling back just as loud, because I need to figure it out myself. We walk those paths for reasons. So when someone's walking what we consider to be a very dark part of a path, whether it's substance abuse or lying and stealing or not valuing one's gifts or whatever it is, we can know this is a part of their path that is important for them to walk for discernment. Should they choose not to walk that messy part of their path, they might not get the messages they're meant to get this time around. And sometimes it can be, yes, very dangerous and very costly in this particular lifetime. But if you think about it, how many lifetimes in the past have we screwed stuff up? I've had some senses of lifetimes where I've made some pretty big mistakes that have cost me my head and sometimes have cost others. So appreciating, respecting that everyone's walking their path. And even when that path seems like the gnarliest path they possibly could choose, trust that there's a higher reason for why they're doing what they're doing. And we can speak our truth about it, but we don't have the right to try to ram down someone's throat. Here's what you ought to do. You're doing it wrong. Okay? Kind of arrogant of us to think that we have the answers for others. We need to be focusing on finding our own answers, right? So this is such an interesting card. Dream speaking. And again, realizing we're just getting started. It's at 1 o'clock. We've got a ways to go to ascend through those levels and learn this. Yes, exactly. Carolyn's cancer is part of her path, and not hate it. What do you need to learn from it? When we think about dis-ease as something that's speaking to us, trying to guide us, when we fight it, you know, there's so much stuff out there about fighting cancer, doing battle, lost her battle with cancer. No. It's a guide. Can we heed that wisdom? It may be our vehicle for leaving this lifetime, and maybe that's the divine right order of things. Who knows? But again, when we move into an acceptance, what do I need to learn from this? And I think, you know, you've all heard the stories. We've all heard the stories of people who have a spontaneous remission. If I had to guess, I would say it's because they listened to the story that dis-ease was wanting them to hear. So, taking the time to listen to your body. Right now I'm getting some inklings from my back. I want to listen to that. I want to pay attention to that. What do you want me to know? And then, interestingly, yesterday I got an autoresponder thing from my chiropractor. It's been 3 months since you've been here. Is it time for a tune-up? And I'm like, yeah, I think it is. The back is talking to me. So, following through. So there are 11 of you on here right now with me. What will you make of this dream storytelling card? What will you do with this today for yourself? What story, go back to the question, how can I share my experience so that it enriches both myself and the person to whom I am telling the story? Maybe you're going to tell the story to your dog. I don't know. Maybe you're going to talk to a tree, whatever. How can you share that experience in a way that enriches you and enriches the recipient? That's your question for today. So have an awesome day. Enjoy this card. Play with this energy. Let's see what we get. Tell your story. Tell your story to someone who hasn't heard part of it before. Put a post in here about what happened when you told that story to someone. I always think about our kids. Good morning, Ravens. Glad you were here. I always think about our kids. They have no idea where we came from, right? So I remember my daughter finding my grad school ID. And she looked at it, and she looked at me, and she said, "Geez, Mom, you used to be pretty." She was little. She was, I don't know, 10, something like that. But I just thought it was funny that she had now a different perception of me, that I had this whole life that she didn't know anything about. So we can share those stories. And again, I started to say this earlier. It used to be when we lived in packs and pods that we had storytelling time. It might be after supper. It might be at the one-room schoolhouse. It might be sitting around a fire for indigenous people. There was time for telling the stories. The winter was time for telling stories because you couldn't be out and about much if you were from where I'm from. Too darn cold. So tell those stories, share those stories. And one of the things that I've found with youth is when they're young, they're really interested in stories. When they get a little older, they're kind of about the stories. Tell anyway. Keep them short, but tell anyway. Later in life, they'll come back and they'll say, I remember when you told those stories, and I wasn't overly appreciative at that point in time, but I remember them, and they've served me well now. Put them out there. Put them out there. So today you are a storyteller. Let's see what comes. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. We're beginning this journey of ascension into claiming this wisdom that we have from our life experiences. Let's see where we go with it. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.